to go and say what I'm supposed to say, but I also knew that like that wasn't fulfilling for me, that I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, that I wanted to be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing, in the costume design, in creating the character. And sometimes I had directors or producers or writers who would welcome that and invite that once they saw that I was able to offer that. And sometimes I would have people who really resented that because they were like, we just hired you to be an actor. Yet when I went in the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled. So I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're like, you're trying to.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, two of Hollywood's most beloved stars, are facing the biggest crisis of their careers. Once considered an untouchable power couple, they are now watching their reputations unravel in real time as a massive $400 million lawsuit looms over them. And to make matters worse, a federal judge has just handed down a ruling that is far from favorable. The stakes couldn't be higher, and for Blake, the damage may be entirely self-inflicted. The trouble started when Blake enthusiastically promoted It Ends With Us, the film adaptation of Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel. She painted it as a lighthearted, feel-good movie, something cozy and uplifting, an absolute must-watch for a fun girls' night in. But there was just one problem. The actual story was a harrowing tale of domestic violence, heartbreak, and trauma. Fans felt blindsided, calling her out for being completely tone-deaf. The backlash was swift and merciless, but instead of acknowledging the outrage and adjusting course, Blake doubled down. She used the film's promotional campaign as a personal marketing opportunity, plugging everything from her hair care line to her alcohol brand and even her denim company. To fans, it felt like she was exploiting a deeply serious subject for personal gain, and the fallout was brutal. The controversy quickly spiraled, and soon, she and the film's director, Justin Baldoni, found themselves at the center of not one, but two career-destroying lawsuits. Blake has since launched a scathing legal battle against Baldoni, accusing him of fostering a toxic work environment on set and subjecting her to inappropriate behavior and misconduct. But the drama doesn't end there. She is also claiming that Baldoni and his production company, Wayfarer, orchestrated a full-scale smear campaign to dismantle her reputation. According to Blake, everything came to a head when the New York Times published a damning article about her, and she firmly believes Justin was the mastermind behind it. The fallout was immediate, and her legal team is now going after him with full force. But Justin isn't going down without a fight. For Baldoni, the stakes are just as high, if not higher. That New York Times article didn't just tarnish his name. It obliterated his career. He lost everything: his job, his agent at WME, his podcast deals, and future film projects. He insists that Blake's accusations are completely fabricated and that she is weaponizing the lawsuit in a desperate attempt to salvage her own career. His team has launched a full-scale counteroffensive, determined to prove that Blake's claims are nothing more than a calculated PR move. As the courtroom battle intensifies, the drama surrounding this case continues to grow. Each new legal filing exposes more behind-the-scenes chaos, revealing a level of Hollywood backstabbing and betrayal that few could have imagined. With both sides refusing to back down, this could turn into one of the ugliest Hollywood showdowns in recent history, and the numbers involved are staggering. Blake is demanding an eye-watering $250 million in damages, convinced.
You guys, this Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively situation just got crazier with the way that Justin this week filed a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times. His lawyer has been speaking.
Meanwhile, Baldoni is pushing back with equal force, insisting that he never smeared, defamed, or engaged in any misconduct toward her. The battle lines are drawn, and neither party is willing to concede an inch. With Hollywood's golden reputations melting away under the heat of legal scrutiny, the question remains: when the dust settles, who, if anyone, will be left standing? Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, two of Hollywood's most celebrated stars, are facing a career-crushing crisis. A staggering $400 million lawsuit looms over them, and the latest court ruling has dealt them a devastating blow. The once glamorous power couple is now entangled in one of the most shocking scandals Hollywood has ever seen. Blake's downfall? Entirely self-inflicted. She hyped up It Ends With Us, a film adaptation of Colleen Hoover's book, as if it were a lighthearted, feel-good movie perfect for a girls' night. But the reality? A gut-wrenching drama centered around domestic violence. Fans were outraged, calling her out for being completely tone-deaf. Instead of acknowledging the backlash, Blake shamelessly used the film's promotion to push her own products, her hair care line, alcohol brand, and even her denim company. And now, she and director Justin Baldoni are tangled in two brutal lawsuits that could destroy their careers for good. Blake is going after Justin aggressively, accusing him of fostering a toxic work environment and subjecting her to inappropriate behavior. But that's just the beginning. She also claims that Justin and his production company, Wayfarer, launched a full-scale smear campaign to tarnish her reputation. According to Blake, everything came crashing down when the New York Times published an article portraying her in a negative light, and she's convinced Justin orchestrated the whole thing. But Justin isn't going down without a fight. That NYT article was a death blow to his career. He lost everything: his agent at WME, podcast deals, and future film projects. His entire reputation is hanging by a thread, all because of Blake's allegations. His legal team is fighting back, hard, determined to prove that Blake is the one playing dirty. And now, new details have emerged that make this case even more explosive. Blake and Ryan allegedly conspired to seize control of It Ends With Us.
The way that I come into a character is always through the fashion and through the costumes. So yeah, I'm lucky to have really great collaborators who can say, okay, I see the intention and now let's make this a reality.
First things first, like, you come out with the best dungarees. So good. Especially that rooftop scene that you first appear on. I saw in another interview you said that Ryan, actually, your husband Ryan Reynolds, wrote part of that rooftop scene. Is that true?
Yeah, that's, I mean, I would have to compare it to the original one, but that's 90-something, 99% his. Yeah, he just added, I mean, Chrissy Hall wrote an incredible screenplay. It was, one of the reasons that I wanted to do this film. But also, there are natural tweaks and modifications that come in when the actor is hired and you're trying to infuse your own personality and your own authenticity. And to me, it was just, movies have to live and breathe. And they will, so Gus Van Sant said to a friend of mine, movies will speak to you, listen to them.
And its highly anticipated sequel, It Starts With Us, from Justin's company. If true, this isn't just about reputation. This is about money, power, and total industry domination. As the courtroom drama escalates, it's turning into one of the ugliest legal battles Hollywood has ever witnessed. In a dramatic courtroom move, Blake pushed for a gag order, arguing that Justin's powerhouse attorney, Brian Friedman, was publicly defaming her, turning the case into a media circus. But Friedman fired back, accusing Blake of leaking confidential legal documents and working with the New York Times to publish the damning article that destroyed Justin's career overnight. Friedman insists that the fallout was catastrophic. Justin lost his agent, got dropped from his podcast, and saw his business deals vanish into thin air. Public opinion is fiercely divided. Blake's supporters argue that no woman should have to endure a toxic workplace, while Justin's camp insists that he's the victim of a calculated takedown. Both sides are digging in, and this battle is only getting bloodier. And then came the nuclear move. Justin's legal team launched a website featuring the amended lawsuit, and it's filled with bombshell evidence. Emails, text messages, legal documents, even videos, everything pointing to a chilling pattern. The documents claim that Blake has been strategically weaponizing false allegations of misconduct against both Justin and his co-producer, Jimmy Heath, in a deliberate attempt to seize full control of the film. The most damning part? Every time Blake didn't get her way, her accusations escalated. The lawsuit highlights how the severity of her claims conveniently increased depending on how much influence she had over the production. Even more shocking, Blake herself reportedly admitted that any alleged misconduct stopped after filming resumed in 2024. But now, she's blaming Justin for the backlash she faced when fans slammed her for mishandling domestic violence themes during the film's promotion. Let's be real. She made those tone-deaf comments willingly, but now, she wants to shift the blame onto Justin. Today in federal court, things did not go Blake's way. Her team pushed hard for a gag order, arguing that Friedman's public release of evidence was fueling a smear campaign. But here's the reality. Gag orders are nearly impossible to secure in federal court. The press has the right to access public legal records, and the judge refused to grant Blake's request. The result? Justin's team is free to keep exposing more damning evidence. With every new revelation, things are looking worse for Blake. The judge's latest ruling means Justin's legal team can continue unveiling even more behind-the-scenes chaos. And let's not forget, Hollywood is watching. The industry has a long memory, and if this scandal continues spiraling out of control, Blake might be the one left with nothing when the dust settles. No gag order, no protection, and no way to weed. Escape the truth. Despite Blake Lively's legal team pushing hard to silence Brian Fredman and Justin Baldoni's side, Judge Lewis Lyman refused to grant their request. However, the court did issue a warning. If tensions continue to rise, the trial could be moved up from March 2026 to an earlier date. This means Blake and Justin might face each other in court much sooner than expected.
Have you ever gotten the note where they're like, we want to make sure this guy's likable? My husband's like, nobody's ever said that. My husband plays deeply unlikable people, but you love him, you know? And like women, they're like, they gotta be likable. And you're like, what is that? What does that even mean?
I was lucky to be able to be involved in so many different aspects of this movie, not just on screen. On screen is the smallest
Then
amount of
came
work.
the second bombshell of the day. Blake Lively is refusing to be questioned by Brian Fredman. Her lawyers, led by Michael Goddell, argued that she feels uncomfortable being deposed by an attorney she claims has damaged her reputation. But let's be honest, this isn't about discomfort. Blake is trying to control the process, even in federal court. In high-profile legal battles, you don't get to decide who questions you. You can request a different lawyer, but demanding that the judge intervene to protect her from a deposition. That's next-level privilege. Unsurprisingly, the judge shut that down too. He reminded Blake's legal team that she doesn't call the shots. She is both a plaintiff in one lawsuit and a defendant in another, meaning Justin's side has every right to question her. There's no escaping it. Brian Fredman will be deposing her, no exceptions. This was a major loss for Blake. The court is making it clear that she can't manipulate the system, and her usual power moves aren't working this time. Some are calling this a David versus Goliath battle, where Blake and Ryan Reynolds, Hollywood heavyweights, are using their influence to crush an independent production company. But this case isn't just about one man versus one woman. There are also women on Justin's side making serious counterclaims against Blake. This isn't about taking sides based on gender. It's about evidence, accountability, and a courtroom. Battle that's only getting uglier. And the evidence, it's stacking up fast. There's video proof of Blake openly admitting in a podcast that she took over nearly every aspect of It Ends With Us, even though she was only supposed to act. At best, she was given an executive producer title, which is usually a vanity credit with minimal behind-the-scenes power. But instead of staying in her role, she overstepped in almost every way. She rewrote scenes that had already been finalized. She took control of wardrobe, even though the costumes had already been selected, causing the budget to skyrocket by $500,000 just so she could bring in her own stylist. She replaced key members of the team, including hiring her own composer and editors, one of whom had never even worked on a film before. His biggest credit? A Taylor Swift music video. And the biggest scandal? She allegedly stole an early cut of the film and brought it to Colleen Hoover's Book Bonanza event, without permission. Think about that. She took unfinished footage from a movie she wasn't in charge of and presented it as if it were her own. That's not collaboration. That's a complete takeover. Hollywood has strict rules about film distribution. Leaking or showing an unfinished version before its official release can be disastrous. It can lead to piracy, ruin box office sales, and even derail the entire movie. But Blake ignored all warnings. Sony told her not to. Wayfarer told her not to. Yet, she smuggled the footage onto a plane and screened it anyway. And now, as lawsuits pile up, the court isn't buying her narrative. With every new piece of evidence, Blake's case looks weaker. Hollywood is watching, and if things keep going in this direction, Blake may not just lose this case, she could lose everything. Justin Baldoni wasn't even allowed to properly attend his own film's premiere. Instead of walking the red carpet like the rest of the cast, he was sent to the basement, completely sidelined. He was banned from promotional events, forced to leave the red carpet before Blake Lively even arrived, and entirely cut out of the press tour. If that's not a calculated power move, what is? But the biggest shocker. The apology statement. Blake's reckless marketing decisions backfired. Instead of taking responsibility, she tried to force Justin, Jamie Heath, and Wayfarer Productions to take the blame. According to court documents, on August 12, 2024, Blake and Ryan Reynolds drafted a statement on behalf of Justin and his team, essentially making them admit fault. The statement read, "It Ends With Us was a troubled production, and we take full accountability for it." Let that sink in. Blake wanted Justin and his team to take the blame for her mistakes, the very mistakes that led to all the backlash in the first place. This wasn't damage control. This was manipulation on another level. And let's be clear. This backlash wasn't some organized smear campaign. It was real. Blake made bad decisions, the public reacted, and now she's scrambling to rewrite history. But the evidence tells a different story. The so-called apology Blake and Ryan tried to force Justin and Wayfarer to sign was even worse than we thought. It said,
and there's a full interview that we've uncovered. A lot of people have uncovered it, so kudos. I don't know where
resurfaced.
I don't know where this stemmed from first, but whoever started plastering it to all of us and emailing it to us, bravo, because this was the discovery, I think, one of the best ones we've had yet, where Blake Lively completely exposes herself and just says it out loud with no qualms. This is what I do. The whole thing Justin's put out in his documents, she just admitted. And you even said it before we play this clip, Kim. You know, there's no way his lawyers had this, because wouldn't this be in the documents? This is exactly what they're accusing her of.
We are very sorry to everyone we caused upset to, privately and publicly. Blake Lively, Colleen Hoover, and the entire cast and crew led with professionalism every step of the way, and any negativity aimed at them is ours to own. Excuse me? Blake was being criticized because she spent the film's promotional tour pushing her alcohol brand, hair care line, and jeans collection, while completely ignoring the serious themes of domestic violence in the story. Instead of taking accountability, she wanted Justin and his team to fall on the sword. The statement continued. We mutually agreed that the cast would be promoting the film separately, and understood why. We have always said we were not perfect. Even if we unintentionally make mistakes, we will always own them. We hold ourselves accountable. It's not anyone's job but ours, and that's part of being man enough. Let's be real. This wasn't about accountability. This was a calculated move to shift the blame onto Justin and Wayfarer, while Blake played the victim. And the irony? Justin and Wayfarer weren't even given a fair chance to promote the film. Blake and Ryan made sure of that. Justin was pushed, out of press events, banned from the red carpet, and even sent to the basement at the premiere. Yet he was still expected to take the blame for Blake's PR disaster. The statement wrapped up with, "We are learning and growing from this experience, and thank everyone for their patience as we find a better way to proceed. We are proud of the film and the warm reception it has received. Part of our work is to have difficult conversations for public growth. The film is doing that on screen, and we are doing that off screen." No, this wasn't about public growth. This was about Blake and Ryan trying to protect themselves from the fallout of their own actions. No one forced Blake to act recklessly on Instagram, make tone-deaf statements in interviews, or treat a story about domestic violence like just another night out. The backlash wasn't an attack. It was well-deserved. Blake wanted Justin and his team to take responsibility for her mess, but the receipts don't lie. The truth is finally coming out. That apology statement? It was the definition of narcissistic entitlement. Imagine demanding someone else take the fall for your bad decisions, and when they refuse, you go nuclear. Blake and Ryan pushed hard to get Justin's team to sign that apology, but they stood their ground. They refused to take responsibility for Blake's reckless behavior. And when that didn't work, the backlash against Blake kept growing. And here's where things get even crazier. Legal filings suggest that by October, Blake was already working with the New York Times to launch a full-blown smear campaign against Justin. The goal? To make sure he took the fall, one way or another. Then, when Justin and Wayfarer refused to sell the movie rights, refused to bend, refused to break, Blake and Ryan allegedly went on the attack. That's when they hit Justin with a lawsuit, flipping the script before he could sue them first. But let's be honest, This lawsuit was never about justice. It was a desperate attempt to control the narrative before all the ugly truth came out. And now, it's backfiring. The evidence is piling up. The case against Justin is looking weaker by the day. And Blake's carefully crafted victim narrative? It's falling apart. Hollywood is watching. The public is watching. And after today's brutal court hearing, Justin Baldoni just walked away with a major win. So what happens next? Is this the end of Blake and Ryan's Hollywood reign? Will Justin come out on top as the truth keeps unraveling? You already know I'll be following every update. So if you want the latest tea, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification.